Donald Trump evidentemente tiene el cerebro descompuesto, y parece que nadie de los principales medios de comunicación tradicional quieren admitirlo. Pero bueno, realmente ¿quién tendría el valor de abordar el tema del que el presidente de Estados Unidos está en una decadencia cognitiva increíblemente preocupante? Aunque bueno, él simplemente se asegura de que todo el mundo tenga que verlo por sí mismo, ya que cada día muestra signos muy claros de que está perdiendo la razón. Y su publicación más reciente en Truth Social, ya saben, la red social favorita de Donald Trump, fue una de estas señales que les estoy diciendo. Tanto así que dentro del mismo movimiento MAGA se burlaron de ella. Y vamos a hablar de todo esto. Pero antes quiero comenzar con alguien de los medios tradicionales que sí se atrevió a mencionar lo deteriorado que está el cerebro de Donald Trump. Y ese es Lauren O'Donnell, mismo que dijo lo siguiente.
A lot of wars there was no reason for. You look right up there, I don't know, see the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War, it always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people.
History will find that there was a president of the United States who did not know that the Declaration of Independence was written and signed 85 years before the Civil War. You look right up there, I don't know, see the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War always seemed, to me, maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people. That's what he said. So he looks at the Declaration of Independence on the wall, and then he thinks that the Declaration of Independence was the product of the Civil War. We've always known that Donald Trump could not possibly pass a high school AP history course. We've always known that Donald Trump couldn't pass any test in any high school history course. But now we know that he couldn't possibly have passed any history test in my third grade at St. Brendan's Elementary School in Boston, in Dorchester. We knew that order of history, what came first, in the third grade. Declaration of Independence first, Revolutionary War second, Civil War a distant third to those events. There are children in elementary school in America tonight who are laughing at that video that they just saw right now, especially kids on the West Coast where this show is airing early enough for them to see it. The psychiatrists promised us in the first year of the first Trump presidency that there was only one direction that his mental health could go. And every day, Donald Trump proves them right.
Todo lo que los medios tradicionales querían discutir era la edad de Joe Biden, qué zapatos utilizaba, si se tropezaba, y ahora que Donald Trump está perdiendo el juicio de manera tan clara y evidente para cualquier estadounidense que lo vea, todo esto mientras declara guerras a través de su red social, comete errores ortográficos, y mientras hace esto no para de cometer errores ortográficos, pero pareciera que a nadie le importa, porque como lo dije, Donald Trump lo está dejando más que evidente, y todas las publicaciones que él hace diariamente lo dejan muy en claro. Esto implica algo de lo que hemos hablado antes. Y esa es la incapacidad que tiene Donald Trump para poder recordar cualquier cosa. Así que yo creo que es muy importante que vean este clip.
I think you should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson. Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. How good did Elise Stepanek do? You know, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel, and he's doing great.
Hemos visto este tipo de comportamiento de Donald Trump muy frecuente últimamente, y ha sido realmente preocupante. Pero lo vimos en todo su esplendor cuando publicó algo que al principio parecía simplemente un mensaje incoherente más de Donald Trump. Pero después de investigar un poco más para tratar de entenderlo, solo empeoró, y quédate a escuchar esto porque se pone más extraño. Y todo comienza con esto. Donald Trump, sin ningún motivo aparente, escribe en Truth Social: Jamie, haces un trabajo increíble, tan firme, tan perspicaz y tan increíble. Te veo todo el tiempo y nunca fallas. Jamie es presidente. Solo quiero decirte esto y agradecerte por el trabajo increíble que estás haciendo. Donald J. Trump, presidente de los Estados Unidos de América. Ahora, esto es una sarta de incoherencias de palabras sin sentido. No sé si Jamie estaba hablando al principio, si todo iba dirigido a Jamie. Literalmente no dio ningún tipo de contexto, no utilizó bien las comillas. no se entendía lo que estaba diciendo. Tal vez se refería a Jamie Raskin. Literalmente lo primero que pensé es que iba a atacar a Jamie Raskin, pero aparentemente estaba hablando de James Comer. James Comer, quien aparentemente le gustan que le diga James nada más, respondió a esta publicación de Donald Trump y la respuesta dejó todo aún más en ridículo. Mira por favor. James Comer escribió en Twitter: gracias, presidente Trump. Como dije esta noche en Fox, es hora de que el Congreso le entregue al presidente un proyecto de ley grande y hermoso. Y cuando miras debajo de las respuestas en esta publicación, todo el mundo se está burlando del hecho de que Jamie parece ser un apodo o tal vez un nombre artístico para James Cooper. Porque el punto es que el señor se llama James y Donald Trump, de una forma carismática o tierna, le dice Jamie, como sería en español de José a Josecito, Carlos a Carlitos. Hay de dos: o esto pasó, o simplemente Donald Trump olvidó el nombre de James Cooper. Aunque bueno, nada de esto tiene sentido porque el diminutivo de James en inglés es como decir Jim, porque el nombre empieza con la J, la A y la M y se puede redondear a Jim, de forma tierna, como en vez de decir Sebastián, decir Sebas, para que tengas una idea. El hecho de que le haya dicho Jamie no tiene ningún sentido porque prácticamente le cambia el nombre. Así que lo que todos suponemos es que Donald Trump simplemente se olvidó del nombre. Y esta no es una sorpresa para nadie, porque por ejemplo el vicepresidente de Estados Unidos, J.D. Vance, una vez fue nombrado por Donald Trump y le dijo J.D. Mandel. Así que bueno, dentro de la mente dañada de Donald Trump, es muy probable que se haya olvidado del nombre de James Comer. Pero me pregunto yo, ¿Donald Trump no tendrá a alguien cercano o alguien cerca de él que le diga no, este no es el nombre, o que lo corrija un poquito? No quiero parecer que estoy exagerando, pero esto es simplemente otro ejemplo. No es simplemente que Donald Trump escribiera mal otro nombre, como hemos visto que escribe mal su propio nombre. Yo creo que simplemente ha perdido completamente el juicio. Y ese es un hecho que Jamie Raskin declara aquí mismo. Miren el clip, por favor.
Well, I would certainly be preferring to live in a state that has an attorney general who will go to court to challenge and defeat unconstitutional executive actions and executive orders by the president, because, you know, if you're in Maryland, great. We know that we have an attorney general who's going to fight every step along the way. Right now, there are 199 preliminary injunctions and temporary restraining orders that have been set down by courts across the land against this reign of lawlessness and authoritarianism. But you need to have an attorney general, especially after this opinion, go in to represent all of the people of the state. That's what in parens patriae means, to represent all of the people in your state behind you. But if you've got some, you know, right-wing Republican AG in a red state who's not going to stand up for you, then you're going to have a lot of rights taken away. Rights of federal workers are going to be taken away. Medicaid rights are going to be taken away. Federal lands, you name it, environmental orders, until we can get it to the Supreme Court. But of course, what will happen is we'll be winning in federal district courts where we have AGs who are willing to bring the case, where we've got public interest groups who can do it. And the administration won't appeal the decision. They'll just say, okay, we're struck down in Maryland, we're struck down in California, or, you know, Michigan or Wisconsin, but we don't mind having it in the rest of the country. That obviously completely collides with the idea of a rule of law and a constitution that applies equally. And it's not fair to people who live in red states who still want their civil rights and civil liberties. It's basically the situation that women are in those states in terms of having their abortion rights and their reproductive freedom taken away. And so we got to make sure that people can at least travel between the states, and that the privilege and immunity of the constitutional right to travel is maintained during this horrible period.
Congressman, does it strike you as odd that the justices on the Supreme Court have essentially defanged their colleagues in lower courts by saying that they no longer have these powers to rein in illegal or unconstitutional actions that they have historically had, you know, and have utilized not only against Donald Trump, but against Democratic presidents and all sorts of parties? Why do you think it is, I guess, that the Supreme Court has decided to neutralize the power of the judiciary branch?
Well, they're acting to appease Donald Trump's wounded ego. You know, all of his fragile feelings about being struck down on the birthright citizenship order in 7 different courts, 4 district and 3 appellate courts. And so they've decided to snatch the power away, the power of equity, which is all about giving the courts the power they need in order to vindicate the rights of the people. And, you know, the majority opinion by Justice Barrett, I think, didn't recognize what equity actually is. It's allowing the courts to adjust the remedy to the nature of the constitutional violation. So they really put the cart before the horse, and they said, oh, well, we think, these judges are getting too big for their britches here, when, nobody has argued with the substance of any of their rulings and the logic of any of their rulings. It's like my MAGA colleagues in Congress who are saying, we're going to impeach those judges. We're going to impeach Judge Boasberg, who was appointed first to the bench by President Bush. We're going to impeach him. This guy was Justice Kavanaugh's roommate at Yale Law School. We're going to impeach him because he said turn the planes around and give due process to people before they're shipped off to a torturer's prison in El Salvador. They're talking about impeaching judges because they don't like their opinions. The only judges that have ever been impeached in American history, there are only 15 of them, have been impeached for bribery and income tax evasion and kickbacks and political corruption. Now they want to impeach judges for having rendered the correct decision, the incontrovertibly correct decision about all these cases. But they don't want to talk about the merits. They just want to make it more difficult for people to get justice in America.
Congressman, let me ask you really quickly, if I can, before we go, about the startling development last night. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, firing 3 federal prosecutors who worked on the January 6th investigations and trying to hold people accountable for that attempted insurrection. Your thoughts on that development, as someone who has also worked on trying to hold people accountable for January 6th, how worried are you about the message this sends to federal prosecutors and to the rule of law in this country?
Well, it's par for the course with this gangster state administration. They fired more than a dozen very experienced senior federal criminal prosecutors just because they had worked on the January 6th case. And they get assigned to work on the case, but it's like they're contaminated because they actually held people to account for violently assaulting police officers and storming the Capitol and threatening to topple a presidential election in America. It's all part of Donald Trump's fanatical determination to rewrite the history of the 2020 election, which he lost by more than 7 million votes to Joe Biden, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. And he won in 2024 by 2 million votes. Right. And that's supposed to be some kind of sweeping mandate that everybody has to bow down to. And we can't disagree with him. He got beaten by 7 million votes. He didn't even accept the validity and legitimacy of the victory itself. For 4 years, he went around saying it didn't happen, and he continues to lie about it and continue to ruin people's careers because they did their jobs in holding the violent insurrectionists that he incited to account for their crimes.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you so much for joining us this evening for your insight.
Donald Trump quiere que Estados Unidos se parezca a su cerebro, roto y sin sentido. Y todo esto para el beneficio de los donantes privados que él tiene. Así es, personas multimillonarias. Pero bueno, para mí lo más importante es saber cuál es tu opinión al respecto, si te gustó la información, no te gustó, te sirvió, qué consideras que fue lo más importante dentro del video. Me encantaría que lo pongas en los comentarios. Está de más decirlo, pero si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido con informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.